Hello and welcome to our webcast for June 14, 2019. My name is Christian Debré and this is Amy Asbrook, the director of Toujours Vivant, Not Dead Yet.
Hello.
Also joining us, just over there, okay, Taylor Hyatt, our policy analysis and outreach coordinator.
Hi.
Toujours Vivant, Not Dead Yet is a non-religious organization by and for people with disabilities and our allies. Our goal is to inform, unify, and give voice to the disability rights opposition to assisted suicide, euthanasia, and other ending of life practices that discriminates against people with disabilities. Today's topics, before that, every time we start, we say this is a non-religious organization.
Right.
This is very important because people have tendency to amalgamate us with religious things.
Yeah.
We have nothing against religious people. Okay. Okay. Today's topics: a strong commentary in Quebec press. Second one, news brief. There is two German nurses and American doctor accused for serial killings. And the second one is the American Medical Association reaffirmed opposition to assisted suicide. Amy Asbrook will help us through those subjects.
I'll do my best anyway. So our first topic is strong commentary in the Quebec press. We have often spoken about the pro-euthanasia bias in the mainstream press, especially in Quebec. But on Monday, June 10th, the Journal de Montréal published an article by columnist Lise Ravary about a disturbing proposal from Dutch politician Corinne Elemete, a member of the Green Left Party. In February, Elemete encouraged doctors to think twice before providing certain medical treatments to people over 70, such as hip replacements and kidney dialysis. The plan was reportedly inspired by some doctors' tendencies to approve intensive treatment that offered no improvement in quality of life.
I want to play devil's advocate for a minute. I can see how this policy was originally meant to do some good. And I want to be clear that we don't want to deny the right to refuse treatment. We don't want to stand for life at all costs, no matter what kind of interventions there are. But we also want to say that the use of things like respirators is okay. People live successfully with them. And the procedures that were specifically mentioned in this piece, hip replacements, that seems like a pretty normal thing to me. And I don't think you should be able to hit a certain age and automatically have doctors and the rest of society writing you off and deciding when your life is over.
Right. And the other thing is, it's not the place of the doctor to say, you don't deserve this treatment. If a person doesn't want to accept a treatment, that's their business. But for the doctor to withhold by omission or not giving the person the information, that's not cool. That's away the choice of the person.
At least that we could say.
It takes the person's choice away from them. And even if a person, and the reason people need hip replacements is because what? They have pain in their hips. And, so there needs to be.
And pain managed to stop them to walk.
Right. You need to deal with the cause of the problem, not just use pain relievers to cover the symptoms. So, yeah, I definitely agree that the person has to have the option, and they can choose not to take it, but they have to have the option. Okay, in her article, Lise Ravary suggested that medical downsizing, reducing care for the elderly, helping the planet, and saving money at the same time, has become a fad among radical ecologists. Ms. Ravary notes that even though people with depression or addiction can be euthanized in the Netherlands, and Belgian authorities, quote, admit to losing control, unquote, of their euthanasia program, other countries are still looking at these societies as models and trailblazers. And right now, New Zealand is still in the process of debating this issue, and the folks in New Zealand are doing a great job of, presenting the issues, but it's still a hot topic down there. And they are looking toward Belgium and Netherlands as possible models.
Yeah, and it's the the New Zealand law look like the Canadian law.
Right.
Why? Because both have copied their law from Belgium.
Yeah. In 2013, Ms. Ravary interviewed Véronique Yvon, the politician who sponsored Bill 52 in Quebec's National Assembly. At that time, Ms. Yvon stated that the end-of-life restriction would protect from any slippage. And she kept saying, this is an extraordinary process for extraordinary cases, blah, blah, blah.
Which is not the case anymore.
Yeah, the Quebec government was already considering the possibility of advance requests for euthanasia as early as 2012 and 2013. And we have links that you can follow to find that information. And they're at the point where they're going to allow advance requests, even though they haven't gone through a legislative process to modify the law, which currently doesn't allow it. So much for the democratic process.
Yeah.
Advanced euthanasia requests are usually intended for people with dementia who will lose the capacity to consent at the time of the lethal injection. Since one of the first clauses in Bill 52 refers to the primacy of freely and clearly expressed wishes with respect to care, Ms. Ravary cautions against adding this kind of provision on the back of an envelope. So her concern is that they're just going to sort of do it outside of the democratic process, which
is not good at all.
Right. She quotes a Dutch doctor who finds the practice of euthanizing incompetent people intolerable. Quote, you have to kill someone who does not understand what is happening, who doesn't remember signing a paper a long time ago, and who isn't necessarily unhappy.
Yeah,
which is
many people, not all, okay, but many people are normally, if they are Alzheimer or dementia, are happy. They are singing, they are doing small things.
I mean, it's a range, but the assumption is that it will be intolerable. But that's not true.
Yeah, that's not true at all. The trick is that the people who feel the most is the people who are the family, not the non-disabled, not the people who are in the state of dementia.
Yeah, exactly. The author also questions the social factors that influence the decision to die, including medical professionals' fear of causing addiction with powerful analgesics.
Which is unbelievable.
Right.
You talk about the people who are 85, 90, 95 years old, become addict, okay? Or 1 or 2 years, maybe 3. Hey, what's the matter? No trouble.
They're being addicted to a medication, if you can get it, is not really a problem.
And if it's a legal one, it will be limited. And the first thing that the doctor should do is to control the pain, not to protect against addiction.
Right. But there's often poor pain management as a result of the fear of addiction, the neglect and inhumane conditions in nursing homes, and the desire not to be a burden on loved ones. And these are social conditions that are assumptions and views about life with a disability, what it means to be disabled, that we can change because they are not, their beliefs, they're not truths. We don't have to have inhumane conditions. We don't have to force people into institutions. When times get tough, disadvantaged people,
Sorry
elders,
for the dog.
Uh-oh. Someone at the door.
sorry. Okay. I don't know what the dog was upset. Mais fermez la porte à la chambre, mon amour. Au bureau. Okay, so when times get tough, disadvantaged people, elders and children, poor and disabled people, and racial minorities become the scapegoats for society's problems. We are described as useless, scroungers, and a waste of resources in societies that value people for their productivity, which is basically most societies, both capitalist and communist and socialist. You know, people are supposed to be productive, and if you're not productive, then you're not good enough, basically. Climate change is starting to put real pressure on the developed world, and as usual, disabled people are severely affected, and the response often puts disabled people at a disadvantage. We have, cited to a couple of things linked there. For example, disability advocates have spoken out against bans on drinking straws designed to cut down on the amount of plastic waste that ends up in landfills and oceans. They point out that while plastic straws may contribute a small amount to the problem, banning them would require disabled people to plan ahead by carrying their own straws in a way non-disabled people don't have to do or be unable to drink, resulting in a failure of equity.
What we mean is they have to talk to us. We are not against nature and environment. What we said is take care about us.
Right.
Okay?
Right. While taking action to ensure everyone gets good health care and to reduce the negative impact of human activity on the planet, we have to place the responsibility and accountability on the powerful interests that have caused and continue to benefit from the consequences of runaway consumerism. So there's an old saying in English, shit flows downhill. It always ends up on the heads of the poor people. We need to hold the people who are responsible to account, the wealthy corporations. And it's harder to do that because they have a lot more resources to fight their own battles, but they're the ones who are responsible, and they're the ones who are profiting from the pollution. So
that's one thing that always annoys me is that I don't want to call it lecturing, but the advice we get to do what we can for the environment is great. But if only one person takes the best possible action, that's not going to make a dent, and the power and the impact of larger corporations isn't mentioned at all. And at the same time, don't ask me to conserve electricity by not plugging in my chair at night, or asking somebody who uses a catheter, for example, to reuse their supplies.
Right, exactly. Okay, our first news brief, former German nurse and American doctor accused of serial killings. This is scary.
A little bit scary.
Yeah.
More than a little bit scary. It's really scary.
A former German nurse, Niels Hogel, already serving a life sentence in the deaths of 2 people in his care, was convicted of the murder of 85 more people on June 6th, 2019. During his trial, Hegel admitted to injecting people with drugs to stop their hearts, then attempting to resuscitate them. So this was 85 people that he was convicted. There are a lot more people who died. Yeah. And a lot of people
more who survived.
Right, who were injured.
The process.
Right, who survived the process. Reports suggest Hegel was bored and wanted a challenge, that he enjoyed the game of causing cardiac arrests.
Okay, I'm bored, so I make a fun to try to kill people and not to kill them.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes it results that they being killed. Oh, sorry, the game is over.
But he enjoyed the game of causing cardiac arrests, bringing people back to life, and then being praised for his skill. Court-appointed psychiatrist Constantine Garifoulis said Hergel wanted to earn the respect of his colleagues, but eventually stopped seeing his patients as people. And that is that objectification of people, turning people into objects of medical care, is why the disability movement objects so strongly to the medical model. Closer to home, William Hused, a doctor in Columbus, Ohio, faces 25 murder charges following an investigation by the county prosecutor. He reportedly prescribed excessive and potentially fatal doses of opioids, including fentanyl, for people in the intensive care units of the hospitals where he worked. The state medical board suspended Husel's medical license in January.
At least.
Yeah. Though Husel's attorney claims he did not intend, quote, to euthanize anyone, unquote, prosecutor Ron O'Brien said the high doses of medication, quote, could not support any legitimate medical purpose, unquote. Because the people who received them were not alert or able to feel pain.
Again, with the dehumanization of people whose conditions affect their awareness or their communication. You don't become broccoli or worthless or a tool for experimentation just because you have a disability in those two areas.
Or just because you're not alert.
Yeah, but you know, depersonalization is the trick of every army to send people to war.
Yep.
It is the enemy. This is not persons against us. It is the enemy.
Right. Yeah. Officials are often concerned about the failure of safeguards that lead. Officials are also concerned about the failure of safeguards that led to the deaths. Electronic red flags designed to point out questionable orders should have alerted pharmacists and nurses to the high doses ordered by the doctor.
And when we mean about the electronic, is everything from computer to electronic machines in the hospital or anywhere.
Right. So computer software is designed to flag any orders for medications that are too high or more than a certain number of orders by a particular doctor. Nobody knows why either that didn't happen or if it happened,
that and
it
nobody
was
take
overridden.
care.
Yeah. So
reset, talk.
Yeah.
Reset, talk.
Yeah.
So families, the lawyers for the families are still trying to find out what went wrong. So, and the final news brief, the American Medical Association reaffirms its opposition to assisted suicide. Delegates at the annual meeting of the American Medical Association voted on Monday to reaffirm the AMA's opposition to physician-assisted suicide. LifeSite News reported that delegates endorsed the current policy by a margin of 392 to 162, so it's 2-1. The policy states, quote, physician-assisted suicide and euthanasia are fundamentally incompatible with the physician's role as healer.
That's only logic.
Would be difficult or impossible to control and would pose serious societal risks. So that's a pretty strongly worded policy, and they have reaffirmed that policy. The vote comes after years of lobbying by euthanasia proponents, encouraging the AMA to take a neutral position on assisted suicide. The Council on Ethical and Judicial Affairs chose to use the phrase physician-assisted suicide because it describes the practice with the greatest precision. So this was a struggle that happened for a long time. They were trying to, the pro-euthanasia people were saying, let's go neutral, you know, because that's really more fair for everybody, which is not true. Neutral in this context means taking a position in favor. And the AMA finally voted not to do that. And that's great. So if you have questions or want more information about the topics that we discuss, you can visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/toujours vivant, not dead yet, all one word. Visit our website at tvndy.ca. You can email us at info@tv-ndy.ca, or you can follow us on Twitter @TVNDY. Thanks to Christian for helping out, and
Thank
to
you,
Taylor
Amy.
as well. And we will see you all next time.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Take care.